Over the past several videos, we've been talking about the I Am Strong formula. And today's video is about N in the I Am Strong formula that represents nourish and affirm your self-worth. Over the past several videos, we've been covering topics like identify your why, accepting yourself for who you are, minimizing your weaknesses and maximizing your strengths. We've talked about respecting your needs. We've talked about owning your self-worth and no longer blaming other people, as well as being true to you and learning about your own self-image and your own identity. At this point in the I Am Strong formula, it is time to feel that your self-worth is growing. Perhaps you feel more confident. Perhaps you do feel more worthy of success, more worthy of happiness, more worth, that you just feel better about yourself. Because now we're going to be talking about nourishing that self-worth, affirming that self-worth, and protecting it. And let me start by telling you this story. Several years ago, my wife and I bought our first house in Southern California. We had saved for 10 years to buy this little tiny 1,100 square foot home. And we wanted to redecorate it, so we put in new carpet and we wanted to paint all the walls. And as we were preparing for painting, we noticed in one of the bedrooms there was a door jamb that had a lot of hash marks on the door jamb that represent the height of the children that had lived in this house since 1934. And we debated, should we paint over this height chart? Should we keep it for posterity's sake? In the end, we decided that we would keep the marks on the wall to represent that people who had lived in that house had grown up over the years. And as we examined this height chart, we noticed that none of the hash marks went down. They only went up. And you would think that because seldom do people shrink year after year, they only grow. And that's exactly what I want to have happen for your self-worth. It should only grow. It should never go down. And part of the I Am Strong formula gives you the skills and the ability to only grow your self-worth. And now it is time to protect it so that it never goes down. By criticisms or putting you down, I want you to feel really good about yourself and feel that self-worth from the inside out. And part of the way that you do that is you need to learn to affirm your self-worth. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think of 3 adjectives that describe you. I want you to think of power words. I want you to think of great words that really describe you. And these may be words that are different now than they were in the beginning after going through these videos and learning about the I Am Strong formula. What would those words be? Would they be that you're capable? Would they be that you're strong? Would they be that you're beautiful, wonderful? Whatever they are, I want you to think of those 3 adjectives, and then I want you to complete this sentence. I want you to say to yourself, I am a strong, capable, wonderful man or woman, worthy of success, worthy of happiness, and worthy of all that life has to offer. And I want you to practice with different adjectives so that you can affirm your self-worth, because it should never go down. Another way to affirm your self-worth is to take voice lessons. And by taking voice lessons, what I really mean is to learn to talk tenderly to yourself. So often I hear about people who are mean to themselves, that if we were to really hear the words that they say to themselves, they would probably be embarrassed, because they say things to themselves that they would never say to anyone else. If that's you, I want you to pay attention to that and start to change the way you talk to yourself so that you can do away with negative self-talk and only say positive, kind, nice things to yourself. We've all heard it said that we are our own worst critic. Why? Why do we have to be our own worst critic? We don't need that. There are enough critics around us that we certainly don't need to be our own worst critic. We should be our biggest fan. Now, I know that by saying that, some of you might feel that you don't want to be boastful. You don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to be perceived as conceited. I'm not asking you to be boastful. I'm not asking you to be conceited. I'm only asking you to be realistic about yourself and to affirm your self-worth and to talk tenderly to yourself instead of beating yourself up. You don't need to do that. You should be your biggest fan. The other thing that I would like you to do is to create what I call a criticism filter. And by a criticism filter, I mean this, that when we are criticized, whether at home, whether at work, whether from a colleague, a coworker, a friend, a family member, a spouse, there is always a little bit of truth in a criticism, and it's a very small amount of truth. And I want you to filter it all out so that you can only focus on that nugget of truth. Now remember, when I talked to you about the self-worth pyramid, I made a distinction between who you are and what you do. Whenever you are criticized, it is always about what you do. It is very seldom about who you are. And so I want you to draw that distinction, to remember that when you're criticized, it's about what you do, but it's not about who you are. Do not let that criticism come down to be about who you are. Keep it up there about what you do. For example, let's say that you have a teenage son or a teenage daughter that brings poor grades home from school. They're C's, and you know that they're capable of having an A. You might talk to them. You might say, hey, I think you could do better. Because really the difference between C's and A's is not about being smart. It's about effort. And so when you say, I think you can do better, most often they interpret that to be about who they are, thinking that you're calling them stupid, that they're not smart. Well, that happens to us as well, that when we're criticized, we think it's about who we are, but in fact, it's more about what we do. And so I want you to draw that distinction that whenever you're criticized, filter it out so that it does not become about who you are. Keep it up there. Keep it about what you do. And sometimes this is helpful, that if you learn how to respond to criticism, you can filter it out even better. So here's something that I'd like you to consider. That when you are criticized, put down, or demeaned, you should say something like this. That was mean and hurtful. And I have enough self-respect that I am not going to accept your disrespect. This ability to stand up for yourself comes from within. It comes from your self-worth. That the better you feel about yourself, the more able you are to stand up and be assertive to those people who might criticize you. So when you create a criticism filter, it is all about separating what you do from who you are. Nourishing your self-worth is really important because I want you to set a baseline. And that baseline is that you are awesome. You are great. You are wonderful. And nothing should lower that self-worth. And so in the next video, we're going to be talking about the G in the I Am Strong formula. And the G stands for genuine. And it's all about doing the right things for the right reasons. And it is the final step in the I Am Strong formula that we're going to put it all together so that you can practice this on a regular basis.